As you can see, I have created a brand new Power BI file. In order to avoid having to start over from scratch, if you still have Power BI the easy way open, kindly save it, dismiss it, and open a brand new report. We have various options in order to import the data, then. We already know that we can either go up here and click on Import Data from Excel, or we can go up here and import data from Excel, or we can go to Get Data and also import it from Excel, or we can click on More and wait for the pop-up window or the navigator and then just specify what kind of data source you want. Then I go to this PBI file, Training 1, and click on Import Data from Excel for me. After that, I simply click on Open and wait till we connect to the file. So, after a brief delay, the navigator window appears and informs us of all the different kinds of tables and sheets that comprise our data set inside. Therefore, everything is accessible here. Now for us, as I previously stated, best practice is to import only the data you require, at least in my opinion. Since we may discuss the tables in our situation, we have them prepared or already generated for you here. All you need to do is choose the specific tables you want to use. Therefore, one way to select multiple tables at once would be to go in here, click on this one, and then, if I want, hold my Shift key, click on the last one. Of course, you can also take each table individually, because what I also want is my customer data, which is this one, and that's actually it. We now have our three tables, namely our three facts table, also known as the sales table, the product data, location data, and the customer data are also present. So that's okay. We don't currently require the other ones. You may choose these options down there, as I mentioned here, but we want to concentrate on the table structure itself, and I also want to use the salespeople, so I forgot about those. They should be included here as well, I think. Therefore, experience is the better option is, at least in my opinion, what I would like to convey to you here. My understanding is that you should merely import the data into Power BI. Avoid importing extra or excessive data because doing so may slow down your reports, which will result in slower refreshes overall. You want to keep the data and the import of the data as small as possible because the report as a whole is slower. Then we may go to transform data because that is all there is to it. As a result, this time we want to transform it instead of loading it directly because, as I've already mentioned, our data is frequently not yet in the right format. Less transformation steps are required of us. The Power Query Editor can be used to perform data cleaning, pivoting, and any other necessary options and preparation steps. Therefore, we do not load the data immediately this time. We choose to transform data instead. Therefore, if you click on Transform Data here, we just need to wait for a new window to open. You can see that a new window is now appearing as the queries are processed, causing the data to be evaluated. So-called Power Query Editor is what it is named. This is also displayed in the top line here. By the way, if I make this smaller, you can see that there is currently an additional window open here, and the report is still visible in the background. Therefore, let's double-click this. Actually, this is where the magic happens. There are numerous options on the ribbon bar above the Home and Transform buttons, as well as under Add Column and other headings, where we may genuinely customize Transform Shape Clean Out data to our liking. Let's begin or concentrate on getting ready our data set. What do you have then? We do really have all of the tables we chose. The Queries window is where you are. If you choose one of these, you can see that we are this in reality. Here, you can specify Get a preview of the data. I would therefore see product data, sales data, and so forth. Consequently, depending on the type of table you choose, the data itself is visible in this. The query settings are located on the right side, as you can plainly see. They are crucial because, as you can see, the property window allows you to give the name of the specific table here, making these location data for the moment. However, if I were to mention merely location, for example, and click Enter, you would observe that in addition to just here, it would also alter here. Because of this, we can really rename our tables. Let's start with location, then move on to customer. Therefore, let's say, customer and to customer both relate to press Enter and the salespeople. Salespeople and rename it, respectively, here. By the way, if you double-click on this, you'll also see an option to rename it. So once more, there are numerous approaches to get the same outcome. You can see that I've renamed it if I enter salespeople here and press Enter. Naturally, this is reflected here as well under the Properties section and the name on the right side. So that we have the Applied Steps window, which is also intriguing because this window tracks all the steps which we do, so all the cleaning steps which have been applied will be tracked here. It's like a history, so you can always go back and see what the specific, in this case specific step did, and I can show it to you. Perhaps in the case of the sales, for example, if I click on sales, you can see that the applied steps are always source navigation and change type by default. You will receive this automatically. As an example, the data looked like this at the start if I take source. We may view the data and all the names of the tables in this area if you click next to the data itself for a little period of time. You can see a little preview of this data's true appearance at the bottom if I click on this. After that, Power BI automatically expanded the data for us. Therefore, if I go to navigation, I should click on the button next to it. However, I should be careful not to click on the cross symbol because doing so would suggest that you erase that. However, if you click on the next option here, you will find that Power BI has now expanded the source and loaded the table even though that is not what you want to do. The final step in this process is to change type. As you can see that the order ID currently has the type ABC 123, as you can see. That indicates your data type is now not specified if you see something similar. The next thing Power BI did was examine each column separately and specify what kind of data type it believes it to be. The change type used here is to do this. As a result, if you click on Change Type here, you will find that each of these columns now has a data type associated with it. Therefore, ABC is a string or text, while this calendar icon refers to a date field. For example, 1.2 would be a decimal number, whereas 1 to 3 is an absolute number, the actual data kinds. You can click here on the icon itself to see all the different data types if you wish to alter it to a column instead. Therefore, I can just click on decimal here 1.2 and then move to I want to alter the column type if I want to see my quantity as a decimal number rather than a whole number instead. Which of the following is the current step, or do you wish to add a new step? Therefore, if I enter new step here, you will notice that it now says change type number 1 and that it is a new step. And now I have 1.2, which indicates that the quantity is no longer a whole number but rather a decimal now. If you want to remove that, you can just click the cross symbol here. You will then see that the quantity is once again 123 and that the step has been eliminated, even if you don't see any missing numbers in this column. Due to the fact that you may perform many transformations in this window and then easily undo them by clicking the cross symbol, it is quite useful. You can also always review each individual step. Here, whenever you click on a step, you always see an image of the data as it actually was before to the step being applied. This is where we are right now, so that's what we have. What I'd like to do is create a separate file, a folder, or even a structure from my data transformation in order to better understand what kind of data I actually have and want to include in my report, as opposed to what data is already present but that I do not require. You'll understand what I mean in a moment. However, I'd want to right-click on this and select I like to create a new group. If you do this, create a new group here and name it something like model data, that's what I'd call it, for example. You can also put a description after that. For example, these tables are pertinent to our model. So now that we're finished, let's click OK and you'll see that a new folder called Model Data has appeared here, along with another folder called Other Queries. What I like to do is select specific tables here by holding down the Shift key while doing so. Examples include this one, my Control key, this one, and this one. And now that I can drag them into the model data up there, I will have a structure as a result. I am aware that these tables are the model data that I want to put into my data model and that they require additional preparation, which we carry out. However, this is simply for my own use so that I can visually confirm that these are the round tables and maybe old data that I utilized but do not want to import when I reopen my editor, in this instance, the Power Query Editor. That's simply for me, it's not necessary. As a result, I would like to do it to create a visual separation between the tables. So, once you're finished, we can actually get into these three tables here. Therefore, the preparation step that is needed in this situation is as follows. There are presently sales for 2021, 2020, and 2019 on these three tables here. The sales table is what we currently desire to have. The optimum model structure will therefore consist of one fact table, sometimes numerous fact tables, but typically just one fact table and several dimension tables. Thus, it follows that we have a single large sales table made up of all three smaller sales tables, after which we will connect it to our other tables for locations, product data, customers, and salespeople. Additionally, I want to change the name of this, and we want to link those tables to our main sales table. Therefore, that is the notion behind the model structure that we seek. So let's fix this one here. Click on it, then let me actually remove this one here and just label it product before I go any farther into the sales. Okay, let's get started. Returning to our sales table now. The fact that the tables from a structure are identical is therefore the most critical or important factor in this situation. As a result, they all own ID, product ID, location ID, and so forth. Let's assume that the structure of those tables is the same as before. The first thing we must have is that. A prerequisite is it. How do we now integrate those tables? There is, however, an option under Home. You can append queries and merge queries if you look here. What then is our aim? What we really want to do is stack them. Therefore, we would want to create a sizable sales table that combines 19, 20, and 21 into one table. This signifies that we want to append them rather than merge them, and you can see it with perhaps this small icon here. Simply stacking them horizontally is what appending signifies. Exactly what we want is this. Therefore, simply insert 19 first, then 20 below, and 21 below this table. So either it is what you desire or the opposite. Therefore, for us, the sequence itself is irrelevant. However, what we really need is a single table based on these three tables. I can access append queries because of this, and there are two options. You have the option of clicking directly here, which will cause a new window to open in a moment, or you can choose to click on the small down arrow, which is also present here. To concatenate rows from two tables into a single table, or, if you choose three, to connect three tables, is an option here. Additionally, if you click the small down arrow next to this, you can specify append queries as both a new and an appended query. What makes the difference now? The distinction arises when we use append queries that are based, for example, on the current table we have. If I navigate to these three tables, I may indicate which tables I wish to append to the present table by doing so. Since I chose this one when I clicked on Append Queries in this instance, the year is 2021. However, it would imply that I would have to alter this sales table by 2021. If I choose to create a new sales table, I will keep my 19, 20, and 21 in their existing configuration and add a new table that has all three of them. If I want that, I'll cross this out, return to Inquiries, click the down arrow, and choose Append Queries as New. I may choose whether to have two tables or more if I choose this option here. Since we have three sales tables in our situation, we must choose three or more, at which point we can declare that we'd like to have a sales table in 2021. Additionally, we need 20 and 19. You can hold the Shift key or the Control key to choose a few of them, and then go to add them once you have the structure. This implies that we should now create a single new table based on the three existing ones, but this table will include all of the sales in this instance, i.e., from all 3 years. Of course, if you add more tables to your own data set in the future, you can append more of them. Afterwards, if you click OK, you'll see that we now have a new table here that is now called Append 1 and that it now has all 3 years. I can simply verify this by clicking on the order date. As you can see, the list may not be full if I click on order date here. You can see that we have 2019 data within if I click on Load More for a brief moment. The 2020 data inside is viewable if we scroll down and scroll to the end. Inside, we can also see data for 2021. As a result, this already informs us that we now have a single table with the exact same structure as our 20 and 21, however, this table only has all of them combined. The last thing, of course, is that we now want to rename this. So I'll just assume that this is my sales here. Press Enter, and then all of our tables will appear. And this table is now easy to drag and drop on top of the model data because these are the tables I want to include in my model. Thus, we can merge multiple tables in this manner. Please take note once more that the crucial aspect is that all of these tables share the same data structure. This is necessary. Now I want to actually stop the data model from importing those tables 20 and 21. We chose those tables initially since the assumption is that we need them. Nevertheless, we just need them to build our sales table, which is already present. We don't want to load them into the model because I've already said that we don't want to do that. What is the aim? In order to achieve this, we must only load the data that our model actually requires. Therefore, since our performance will be better, we want to keep our datasets and, by extension, our model small. In order to access extra options like deleting, renaming, and other options, I like to right-click on the sales table here. By the way, renaming may also be accomplished by right-clicking here, but the point is that I am unable to destroy the table because it is essential to our sales table and depends on it. I want to use those two options since that's what I want. These are the options that we find fascinating. Enable Load describes them. Add Refresh and a report as well. We want to untick the Enable Load checkbox for all 3 tables as our desired action. So I'll right-click here and take it. Untick here, right-click here, and repeat the action. So hopefully you notice that those tables are now in italic and have a gray font color. And this ought to imply or inform us that such tables are no longer loaded into the model, because it is unticked to enable load here. they continue to add and update while still being ticked. What then is the aim of this? When the underlying dataset changes, that is what we want to happen. So let's imagine that 2019 or 2020 or 2021 sees a shift in the data, the sales data, as 2021 is not yet finished entirely. The possibility exists, and hopefully there will be more sales this year and new data in this particular table as well. The new data should now be included in our sales table when we refresh our data, but we don't want to load the sales table for 2021 into the model. And for that reason, even though we right-click here and choose to disable the load, we still include it in the refresh option. As a result, if the data set with the underline changes, the sales table that we have built here will reflect those changes and we will get the latest data. However, we still won't see sales for 2019, 2020, and 2021 as independent tables when we load the data into the model. There is just one table that we can view, and that is the sales table. In this case, merely deselecting the Enable Load achieves our objective, which is exactly what we wanted to achieve. We avoid loading the data, instead merely loading the sales table into the Power BI model. However, the most recent updates in the underlying data set will still reflect in this sales table. We carry out that work here. So, as we wrap up this final video, we want to leave you with a message: keep spreading positivity, chasing your dreams, and embracing the beauty of life. Together, we can make the world a better place. See you in another video. Love and peace.